Good morning. We want to welcome you this morning to the Drainage District Board of Directors meeting for today, June the 3rd, 2014. Present are Commissioner Cuellar, Precinct 1, Palacios, Precinct 2, and myself. We have a quorum. Anybody sign up for
No,
open
sir.
forum? All right, then next item, our consent agenda.
Everything's been reviewed and there's no concerns.
Move for approval.
Check.
Those in favor, say aye. Aye, motion carries.
Morning.
All right, item 4A.
Judge, Commissioners, we have two presentations for the board's consideration. Item 4A is presentation, discussion, and action on the adoption of the La Jolla Watershed Master Plan. And item B is going to be presentation, discussion, and acceptance of the Mission Inlet existing watershed. The first one that we have before the board, we're giving you all a handout at this time.
You know,
is
Godfrey, that one is important enough, and Commissioner may be showing up a little late. Why don't we move on to item number 5, and we'll come back to 4.
That's fine, sir.
Give the other commissioners a little more time to get here.
No problem, sir.
All
Under
right,
item,
let's look at number 5 then.
thank you, sir. Under item 5, maintenance and operation, request approval of payment application number 4 in the amount of $140,411.70 from Texas Concordia Construction LLC as related to contract number 13014-1126 Alamo Expressway Drain Border Road Crossing. It's been reviewed and signed off by the project engineer.
Move for approval.
Check.
Those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Under item 6, 2014 bond series, discussion and action on change order number 1 with IPR
6.
SC LLC as it relates to the extension of time on Precinct 2 Radel Drain reroute. The engineer has submitted a change order for extension of time, 30 days for the extension of rain days that have been raining over the past duration of the project.
Where?
Sir?
Where? Because it's been raining.
They've got the information on it, Commissioner. The reason behind the rain days is anytime we've got any rain, it goes down the main channel. So it delays in the construction work because they're in there trying to do the eco-casting inside of the project. So they're requesting 30 days delay for rain and 30 days for the actual additional construction on the project.
Have you verified,
Mande, sir?
have you verified the number?
Yes, sir. They've submitted in the paperwork from the National Weather Service on all the rain days that are acknowledged on it. So it's not just this day it rained, but we have the documentation backing up the rain days, and it's been signed off by the project engineer.
Trouble.
Second.
Those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Item 7, 2013 bond series, requesting exemption from competitive bidding requirements under Texas Local Government Code Section 262.024A for a professional service for engineering services in connection with the Hidalgo County Drainage System 1, Precinct 4 Rural Drainage Development, La Blanca Area Drainage Improvements.
Move for approval.
Second.
Those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Item B, presentation of scoring grid for the purpose of ranking by the Hidalgo County Drainage System 1 Board of Directors of the firms graded and evaluated through the district's approved pool of engineers in connection with professional engineering services required for Hidalgo County Drainage System 1, Precinct 4, Rural Drainage Development, La Blanca Area Drainage Improvements. And the rankings are as follows. These were requested by Precinct number 4, and they did the ranking and submitted it to us. DOS Logistics, Inc., 98, R. Gutierrez Engineering Corp., 95, Cortran Engineering, PLLC, 92. Request the boards consider the ranking, the scoring as they are, so we can proceed.
Move for approval.
Second.
Those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Who did the ranking, Governor?
Precinct number 4, sir. All the ranking on the projects, Judge, are submitted into the commissioners, and they present the ranking to us to presentation of the board.
La Blanca is one of our rural development projects, of which I don't know what number it is, but we got a couple more to go. But
Yes, sir, that is correct.
Go ahead, sir.
Item C, requesting approval for Hidalgo County Drainage System 1 to negotiate agreement for professional engineering services with the number 1 ranked firm of DOS Logistics, Inc. for a provision of engineering services required for the Hidalgo County Drainage System 1, Precinct 4, Rural Drainage Development, La Blanca Area Drainage Improvements.
Move for approval.
Second.
Those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Item D, requesting approval to execute payment directive agreement that relates to construction contract number HCDD1 14-010-0506, Precinct 2, Seminole Valley Subdivision Area Drainage Improvement. This is a request that was sent in by the bonding company. We forwarded it to legal counsel. They reviewed it, and I believe everything is in order, Mr. Crane.
That's correct.
So moved.
Second.
Those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Item 8, request approval of change order number 2 as it relates to construction contract number HCDD1 14010121 Precinct 2 Rural Drainage Development, Northside Village / Hidden Valley Subdivision Area Drainage Improvements, a decrease in the amount of $13,054.96. The reason for the decrease is Commissioner Palacios, Hector Palacios, is doing a project in the same area in which we are installing the storm sewer line. So instead of our contractor being paid to repair the asphalt and the commissioner's coming in with a new street, we've reduced that amount of pavement because it's already going to be done by the commissioner when he comes to redo the whole roadway.
So moved.
Second.
Those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Why don't we go back to number 4 in that?
Okay, sir?
Go ahead, sir, 4A.
Thank you. For a presentation, discussion, and action on the adoption of the La Jolla Watershed Master Plan. You have before you exhibits or pamphlets identifying the presentation we're going to do for the board, and also you should have final engineering reports on this particular watershed we go through there. The La Jolla Watershed is a project that was being developed through precinct number 3 for the area associated between La Jolla and the city of Mission. This is a very large area itself. One of the items that we did evaluation on was the watershed itself going into the La Jolla Lake itself. If you see up on your exhibit or up on the red, that one watershed that feeds water into the La Jolla Lake is about 180 square miles. It's a tremendous watershed that feeds naturally into the lake. We were trying to develop and bring in water from the east side into it. However, the capacity of the La Jolla Lake does not allow for any additional water to be put into it. Several years ago, we had an event in La Jolla Lake in which we had to work with precinct number 3 to be able to drop the water level in the lake itself because there was the potential of overflowing. And we had to declare an emergency to relieve through the canal on the west side of the La Jolla Lake to feed water. Commissioner Flores, we're going over the La Jolla Lake area, sir, on the watershed. And I think Commissioner can elaborate on the emergency we had that time of putting up pipes to try to breach the canal to get the water out of the lake. So that's the western side. In addition, after we evaluated the western side, we moved over to the eastern side, which is this segment that we've got over here. This section of the watershed, which we call the Peñita Water Basin, runs all the way from almost mile 7 down towards the river itself, and it's about 25 square miles. This whole area drops from the north side going south all the way to the city of Peñitas, the community of Peñitas itself. In this particular area, there is a lot of different roadway projects that are being developed, both the Liberty, the Gill Road, 2221, 83, and in the future Expressway 83 reroute through the area. What we have before you is the rain exhibit that came in from NOAA during the Dolly event, and this particular area right here, you see a red dot, that's where the La Jolla watershed is. So it identified about 10 inches of rain that came from the north coming down towards the Peñita watershed. The goals for the project were to develop the needs that were going to be coming into the area, to reduce the amount of flooding that had been taking place in there, and to provide drainage or conveyance for the area, both on the north reach, mid reach, and the southern reach, and to make sure that it's a constructible implementation of a plan that the board is going to be considering. If you look at the exhibit there that we have presented for y'all right now, it's broken down into 3 separate watersheds. The northern watershed, and by reference, this is mile 7. This particular area is Salida del Sol, which is the middle watershed, and then the southern watershed. And the reason these are distinct watersheds is the northern is almost going to be a self-contained watershed. The middle one flows south, but it's got boundaries of irrigation canal that holds the water back and creates flooding. And the segment south of the elevated canal goes down towards the river and is bound on the south side by Hidalgo County Irrigation District Number 1's canal. What we did on the first phase of it was basically do an analysis of the existing ground conditions on the 3 different watersheds. And what you see in red and green are depressed areas or low-lying areas where the water will stand when it naturally sheet flows down the area. And then you also have large caliche pits or mining operations that have taken place in these areas. But this particular section itself up on the northeast side is just low-lying areas that are some areas almost 15, 16 feet deep. It's just depressed ground conditions that exist there. So these are the existing conditions that exist out there. So we did that analysis, and then we superimposed it with the analysis that FEMA has, identifying the areas that flooded, especially during the Beulah area. And you can see they fit right in over the same areas that we did the analysis in. And Beulah created this FEMA created this map when Beulah came in and found all of these lagoons that were established out there from all the rain that came and had no place to go. Moving forward on the project, we looked at the partnership of development because it's a massive program that we have over there. And the commissioner has got several partners on numerous projects coming in there. We've got partnerships with TxDOT, we've got partnerships with the General Land Office, we have partnerships with Urban County, we have money from the Drainage District under the 2006 bond issue and under the 2013 bond issue, and we have also money from Precinct 3 that are committed into the whole development of the program of this site. Projects that are being developed in that area are the US 83 relief route and outfall systems, the Peñitas Drain and US 83 crossing, the Mile 3 extension and the drain, the Liberty Road extension and outfall systems, the acquisition of the Liberty Caliche Pit, and the acquisition of land south of the expressway to be able to provide additional detention facilities. In there also, you'll notice that we've located about 13 colonias that are in there, but there's also numerous other colonias that are being impacted. So the development of this project is to provide relief also to the colonias that are in there that are flooding, and that's the partnerships that we have with Urban County and the GLO program. In moving forward, we started analyzing the different watersheds. As I said, the northern watershed, the mid-reach, and the southern watershed. And we looked at what the natural ground will hold. We looked at detention facilities that might be needed. We looked at the capacity of the caliche pits, inline storage detention, the alignments of the channels, and also the proposed US 83 relief route in there. So all of these evaluations or impacts to the area were evaluated by the project engineer and started the development on it. The ultimate plan that we came out with in this area and the direction of the board in discussion with the commissioner is try to protect this area from a 100-year event, which is another Beulah. The only way that that can be developed under a 100-year event is to punch through a channel all the way to the river to be able to outfall. Unfortunately, the problem we have just south of the expressway is a multitude of gas lines and oil lines that are running through there, and it makes it at this time prohibitive because the wells are all very active still. So we looked at developing an interim plan for this area to provide drainage relief that we need at this time. So our interim plan that we presented or presenting to the board is as follows. On the northern watershed, the analysis showed that even if we have a 100-year event, none of that water is going to be impacting anything south because of all the depressed areas and low-lying areas that will hold its water. However, the mid-reach is the one that gives us the most burden because it's bringing in all the way water from Mile 7 and where the Salida del Sol development, and it drains all south into this area. So we're proposing of acquiring an old caliche pit that we call the Liberty Pit right in here to be able to run our system into the Liberty Pit to detain the water in that area and start bleeding it south through the rest of the system through an additional detention facility south of the expressway in which it has an existing outfall into the Hidalgo County Irrigation District No. 1's canal. That is the area that had problem during Beulah because all the water came down, got into the canal, went to Mission, flooded Edinburgh. So we're capturing the water, detaining it prior to going to the canal and buying us time for these wells to stop production in order to punch it through into the river itself. As I mentioned, on the northern watershed, Mile 7 is right here, Harachina Road is in this area. These are all the depressed areas that we've got in there, and the analysis identified that none of this water during a hurricane will get out of the area because it's bound with the canal on the east side and all of the low-lying segments in there. What we have developed also is now a base flood elevation, so if any development comes in, we have a way to manage that and not just have people building in a hole in those areas. And this area itself is based for a 100-year. The mid-reach section that I mentioned before, which is, again, Salida del Sol is in this area, we looked at numerous different alternatives, and they all consisted of building detention facilities to hold the water through the areas. The final alternative that we looked at was acquiring the Liberty Caliche Pit and bleeding the system through there to the Caliche Pit. However, all of the channels are being designed or being built for a 100-year facility, yet our detention is only going to be for, I believe, a 25-year event in this area. This is the caliche pit that we're looking at. There's a canal on the south side and on the east side, and we're looking at acquiring about 75% of the caliche pit and leaving the front to the owner for future development because of Liberty Boulevard running through this area in there. And this particular pit itself has a storage capacity of about 1,100 acre-feet of water. The southern slide, this is the Expressway 83, this is a relief route, identifies numerous channels coming through this area and bleeding south to an additional pit that we looked at on the south side of the expressway. Plus, we looked at a pit possibly on the western side. But since this area is not being developed at this time, we felt that that could be consistent with the development of this large tract of land as the future development comes in. And we're recommending the acquisition of a pit south of the expressway to capture this water, store it in there, and slowly bleed it out as it's draining right now, because it's an existing outfall that's there right now. This is the Expressway 83. This is the community of Peñitas. This is the area that we're looking at buying for detention and bleeding into the Irrigation District Number 1's canal, which is an existing 30-inch line. That's the way it drains right now for this area. These are our typical cross-sections we're looking for our drainage. As we mentioned in the past, the district is no longer just doing V-channel facilities. We're doing terrace facilities to be able to maintain the system, which now can be maintained with shredders, and we can do the center part probably with backhoes instead of major excavators, which is about a 150-foot channel. And then on smaller laterals, about 110 foot. So you can see these are a typical section that we're developing for the projects themselves. We do consider developing this area in different sections. As we mentioned before, the northern section itself needs no development because the depressed area will retain or detain its water. In the mid-reach, we're looking at buying the caliche pit, the Liberty pit, and constructing the channels through there to bring the water into the area. And on the southern watershed, we're looking at building the detention facility on the south side, right next to the Edinburgh Canal, the channel construction, and monitoring the basin outfall in the area. And again, everything is dollar-driven, so we're presenting to the board the consideration on how we should prioritize the work that we've got. Once the board considers the plan and approval of the plan, I believe the first item that we need to do is the acquisition of the two pits. Acquisition of the two pits. The first pit that we're looking at acquiring is going to be the Liberty pit on this side, which facilitates the GLO project for draining these colonias and moves forward on different projects that are being implemented at this time by the city of Peñitas and the precinct. The second priority itself is the GLO Auburn County Peñitas drain, which they're already funded in acquiring land to build the internal components of the drainage of the colonias, punch through the expressway and digging a channel from the canal down to the Expressway 83. The priority number 3, we're waiting on TxDOT, which is this June, to get their environmental clearance so we can buy the segment of drain ditch that we're looking at in order to facilitate drainage on the east side, in which TxDOT will facilitate the construction or excavation of the project itself. The fourth part is the acquisition right-of-way for the mid-reach section of Mile 3 Liberty project, which is moving forward and buying additional right-of-way as far as we need to excavate this channel to provide outfall, positive outfall for the Liberty project and the Mile 3 project. The final, which is the priority number 5, is to begin the implementation as development comes through here. As soon as we provide the development plan or the outfall plan, I believe the developers will start urbanizing the area and start dedicating additional right-of-way and constructing these facilities, because we're seeing it in other parts of the county, that as long as they have a plan to follow, they're willing to move forward and trying to get these areas developed up on the north side. That's the overall presentation of the La Jolla watershed. I'm here to answer any questions the board might consider. But like I said, we'd like for the board's consideration of it so we can move forward and stay on track with the schedule of the GLO and TxDOT and ourselves.
Godfrey.
Yes, sir.
On the colonias north of Expressway and west of Tomgill, those are still on, like we talked about?
Yes, sir. We've shown them on here, Commissioner. They're tied in. The GLO itself is bringing in storm new lines into the colonias, and they're tying into our master plan. And that's one of the reasons why you wanted to look at the whole picture, not just one specific item, because without the master plan going in place, those colonias have no place for their water to go.
Another thing is we're probably going to need some kind of fence around those pits, because it's going to be a liability for the county.
Yes, sir. We've got a plan that we're developing on all our pits, Commissioner, which are basically chain link fences with the barbed wire on top of it, with the gates, caliche road access to them, to be able to be maintained by the district.
Because some of those pits are pretty deep.
Yes, sir, that is correct. And we're designing them to have slopes on the side, Commissioner, not the vertical.
Yeah.
In case anybody does try to get in there, they're not just cliffs dropping down into them.
Time-wise, what are we looking at?
We can begin acquisition as soon as the board approves this.
Yeah, at starting point, but I'm talking about when can we see that?
The GLO is in Urban County, has their project completed, they're ready to start advertising, they have their money available. So I can't speak for them, but they could be on bid within 60 days or 30 days. They need the caliche pits in order for their project to be able to outfall into it. TxDOT itself, they've advised us that they're getting their environmental clearance in June. So this month, if they get their environmental clearance, we have a segment of ditch that we can acquire for them to put in their construction drawings for when they're going to advertise. My understanding is TxDOT is scheduled to advertise the La Jolla bypass in April of this coming year.
Yeah.
So these improvements will get started within probably 12 months, Commissioner.
Do you need action for this, Godfrey?
Yes, so we need the plan approved in order for us to put it on our books so we can enforce the actions on it.
Move for approval.
Okay.
Those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Thank you very much, Commissioner. Item B under it, presentation, discussion, and acceptance of the Mission Inlet existing watershed. This is another project that's part of our bond series that we presented for the board and the taxpayers that we were going to be looking at. Next slide, please. And basically what it consists is, everybody is familiar, or might not be, which would be called the Mission Inlet, which is the old river floodway that starts on close to Ansal Lewis Dam, goes north, crosses where Cimarron is, goes east, south of the McAllen Airport, crosses Jackson Road and ties into the floodway system.
That's the one that floods Tito, right?
Yes, sir. The one that the FAR, San Juan area depend on for flowage going south.
Let's take care of it.
So what we were looking at was we needed to develop a plan for this system itself in this respect, that the floodway through the heart of all of the urbanization of Mission, of McAllen, FAR, and San Juan is still being regulated under FEMA like it was the old floodway. It's still situated as a Zone A, which says it will flood, but nobody has determined how much it would flood. So the idea was to develop, does it really need to stay the half a mile wide, or can it be reduced? Can we release part of those areas? So the intention was to reevaluate the watershed, or the water that came into the Mission Inlet, and delineate it out. And what we have found out, there's water all the way from La Jolla that comes through there. If you recall, during the Beulah event, the water got in Irrigation District 1's canal, and by FM 492, it spilled over and started flowing into the Mission Inlet. Then part of Mission itself, where the canal, where the twin canals are at, part of that water goes south through the Rado drain, which again impacts the Mission Inlet on the southern side. Yeah. So the first alternative was to look at what the existing conditions, or how much water really got into the system. And what we're showing here is delineating the phase 1 of the Mission Inlet, which is evaluating the Mission Inlet itself. For geographic purposes, we have itself, this is Ansal Lewis itself. This is where the channel begins. We've got Conway, we've got Cimarron in this area, Palm View Golf Course, McAllen Airport over here. So this is the Mission Inlet itself, which encompasses, I would say probably in some areas up to a quarter of a mile to half a mile of levee systems. Over the past 40 years, some of the levees have been taken out by landowners. There's been some massive development in the floodway, which is the Cimarron area. And so, so the impact of flood insurance and future development is important that we evaluated the Mission Inlet, which is what we did. One of the items that we were asked to do was, if we were going to be looking at the Mission Inlet, make sure that we're going to be able to get it off of the map from FEMA, to make sure that whatever can be developed properly in the area, and make sure that we're not going to be flooding anybody else downstream.
By doing this, Godfrey, how much acres are we talking about that we're going to go ahead and be able to
I think it's a
develop?
little over 2,000 acres, Commissioner, to 3,000 acres that we feel we're going to be able to release in that area. And right now, that land is valued at probably $500 an acre because you can't do anything to it because it's just ag. Taking that land out, and some of y'all are in the real estate, but from what I've heard, some of that land could be $50,000, $60,000 an acre in that area for development. So it's going to be an increase of a tax base to the community, but at the same time, we don't release it for free. The district or the county gets paid back by the appraised value of what those easements are. So there's probably maybe $6–7 million worth of money that the county and the district are going to get back, because these lands were bought by the county or bought by the drainage district when the floodway system was developed back in the late 50s, early 60s. So we looked at different scenarios on the Mission Inlet. We looked at having the gates open, where it ties into the IBWC. We looked at scenarios coming in through the area where the gates closed, that just the pumps would operate through there. And the slides that we're presenting to you are basically the technical slides identifying the type of programs and information that's going to be required that the engineers needed to evaluate if we were going to be submitting it to FEMA, which is our intention, to prove to FEMA that these areas do not flood. So they have certain criteria that they require the engineers in doing the analysis. And a lot of the technical, the type of software, the type of information, the cross sections that are done, the precision of the levees, the geotech of the levees, the parcel information on land that we're going to be releasing from the air. So it's just a tremendous amount of technical information. And one of the items I wanted to jump in at this point is we're going to be putting this all on the website. So any individual, the private sector, will be able to enter the website, both the county or the district, to have copies of all of this information. So it's going to be out there for the general public, for anybody to review it, to anybody to critique it, to anybody to make any comment on it. So that'll be on both.
If we do this project here, how long would it take FEMA to take that property out of the flood zone?
I would say within 6 months, Commissioner, and I'm going to get that in a minute,
So
Commissioner.
from 1 year to another, it'll go from $500 an acre to maybe $40,000 or
Yes, sir.
$50,000 per acre on
Yes,
Texas?
sir. We've looked at the different hydraulic, which is the terrain, how the water is moving into the area. And a lot of it is a technical, but it shows FEMA how we came across or came about the analysis, how we're justifying our figures, how to make sure that what we're telling them or the engineers are telling them are correct and accurate on the conditions if we do have a 100-year event. It identified also the watershed that we have. It identified the queues, the volume of water coming into the area from the different reaches through the segment. This is the existing FEMA current map. And again, for geographic purposes, this is Conway. This is Bryan Road now. This is Cimarron. The McAllen Airport's in this area. So you'll see that this whole area on the existing FEMA map identifies it as a floodway or a Zone A. And then you see the southern part over in this area, over especially in Commissioner Tito's area, it's all in a flood hazard area down over in the south side because of the new floodway that they've got on the south side. So that's the existing FEMA map that we have right now. Again, these are different analyses that were done for presentation purposes on hydrology, on the hydraulics, what programs they run, what type of engineering criteria they utilize for the development of it. This is one of the items that was very critical in the whole project. The engineers can calculate and they can take all of this data and present it, but you have to have an event to calibrate it with. In other words, they can say the water's going to get 10 feet deep on a 25-year event or 50-year event, but without actual proof, everybody says, oh, it never happens. Well, we had the ability to have pictures of during Hurricane Dolly that was considered a 25 and a 50-year event, and it had elevations of the Mission Inlet. So the engineers were able to take their data to quantify it with the existing condition, which is one of the items that FEMA really wants to hear, that it's just not a numbers. We've seen real conditions out there that justify the numbers that the engineers are running. So that was very important. Commissioner, this is McCall Road. It's not like that anymore. This is where you put in your new structure. This is a new roadway that's being developed over there in that area. And you can see we had started construction when Dolly hit and it blew out part of the system that was already under construction. Again, we've also evaluated under a 25-year the models coming through this segment. And again, these were part of the verification of the calibration that I just mentioned to the board. These are the different cross sections of the levee system, the pilot channel, how high the water will get into the system, the bridges that would be impacted or made improvements to, and these are on the 25-year model. This, as I mentioned before, is part of the floodplain under the study that we did under scenario number 1, which identifies that the gates themselves are closed. This is the event, a 100-year event that will flood the area. If the gates are closed from going into the floodway, this is the area that would flood. It would get outside the floodway system, it would go into the Balboa Acres area, it would hit the industrial park of McAllen, and just anything south of the airport all the way to the levee would be under a flood condition or water exceeding the levels.
Godfrey, how much longer do you think your presentation will take?
I would say probably about 5 to 10 more minutes, Judge. If you want to recess for the Commissioners Court, it's up to you,
Now,
sir.
take about 5 minutes and we'll go ahead and complete it.
Okay, sir. And scenario 2 is identified that the gates themselves are open, that water is flowing through the system, and you can see that the floodway itself is still contained. However, one of the items we did find out that basically from Sherry Road west, the water is going to stay pretty close to the channel. So at this time, we have enough data that we could submit into FEMA to begin releasing the lands west of there. However, if we submit that right now, we also have shown that this area down here by the industrial park will flood. So it's going to be a decision of the board when we submit to FEMA the changes on it. This is a profile of the Mission Inlet starting in over where we tie into the IBWC all the way past Conway area. And this is the intriguing part. This is the Mission Inlet. We're running a model or an animation that shows you how the water starts flooding over a 5-day period on the Mission Inlet with the water coming in. And you can see where it's coming out of the floodway system in the Balboa Acres and in the industrial. And that is with the gates closed over on the IBWC. So if we do have an event, this is what's going to happen to our area. Can you run that one more time, please? This is Conway, and this is Bryan Road. This is a Cimarron area. That is exactly what will happen today if we have a 100-year event with water coming down into the Mission Inlet, and we cannot dump water into the floodway system similar to the event we had several years ago. This area just overloads the floodway system, starts coming out of the areas where no levees exist, and starts flooding these communities that are here.
That will happen if we don't do anything about it.
That's correct, sir. That's existing condition. We're going to run you also scenario number 2. That's with the gates closed, like last time we had the floodway full. With the gates open and our pump structure operational, this is what will happen. And here's your timeline. Again, the water starts coming through there, starts stacking up in the area, starts bleeding out, and you start seeing that the water starts getting out of the floodway system in here. And that's if we're able to move water into the floodway itself, but we can't release any land in the midsection. Okay? All right, next slide. These are, again, our areas that we've evaluated. We run cross-section, identified where the areas will flood if we do not do anything and we continue with the system we've got. And again, we do not reap the benefit of releasing part of the levee system or the floodway systems that we have there. Here's the floodway channel itself. Here's the McAllen Airport. The whole system is flooded in through this area and all the way east of 10th Street, all the way to the levee system. And we're talking about 15, 16 feet of water inside those levees. Okay, the study shows a significant reduction of the 100-year floodplain compared with the current effective FEMA mapping. In other words, based on the existing condition, we can modify the FEMA map today. We can start releasing some of the land if the board wishes west of Bryan Road, but I believe the intent is to try to release as much land as we can in the floodway system with the improvements that we need, which are going to be dirt or the widening of the channel. So what we wanted the board to see was the existing conditions that we had so we can move forward with whatever improvements we're going to need to mitigate and present to this board.
What kind of action do you need, Godfrey, in this?
Acceptance of the study, Judge, and that way it gives us the ability to release it to the cities and any other entity that wants to look at the information.
Oh, move for approval.
Second.
Those in favor, say aye. Aye. Aye, motion carries.
Judge, Commissioner, thank you. And we'll come back to this board when we have an action plan as to what timetable we have for this program.
Nothing under executive session.
Not at this time, sir.
Need a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Those in favor, say aye. Aye. Aye, motion carries.
Thank you
sir.
very much, Judge, Commissioners.
At this time, we're going to be convening a regular meeting of the Hidalgo County Commissioners Court for today, June the 3rd, 2014. The entire court being present, we have a quorum. Please join us in our Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Dear Father in heaven, bless us this day. Bless our families, bless our country. Always help us to make good decisions especially where it has to do with all the county and trying to do the best. And whether we remember it or not, we know you're responsible for the rain. So we ask you to send rain when it's needed, dear Lord. Don't let us get too dry. And dear Father in heaven, we ask you to bless all the veterans and everybody who has spent their lives trying to help this country. And we ask this in the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Amen.
All right. This time, we're going to move up to item number 10, the result of a conflict in our different schedules. Item 10 is our Health Department. Mr. Olivares.
Judge, Commissioners, thank you for accommodating. I have a presentation with the new Regional Director for CBP at 10, a little bit after 10, so I needed to go meet with him on all these issues with the children's that are taking place here in South Texas.
What is a TBP?
It's, Customs Border Patrol, Customs Border Protection, folks, so that's the presentation working on some infectious diseases. But nonetheless, the item I have on here, sir, is item 10. A is discussion and action. Discussion approval to download the final IGT amount for the demonstration year 2 uncompensated DY2UC in the amount of $9 million from general fund. And the number that I'm going to present is a correction on here that please, for the court reporter, it's $11,818,073. $11,818,073.
$73?
Yeah, 73. So it's less than the figure there. From the LPP fund for the total amount, and this is the accurate amount, is $20,818,073. That's the figure, $20,818,073. As of 2 o'clock yesterday afternoon, the state was still changing their formula. So this is the final number. This is what we're bringing to court for official transfer to take place.
Mr. Olivares, last week you had an agenda item similar to this here with different numbers, right?
Yeah, what happened is that the state called us on Friday at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. They called us on Monday morning at 6, emailed us at 6, and then they emailed us again yesterday at noon. So it's...
The LPP fund has more than 11,818,000, so the rest is going to remain there. It'll be transferred later on?
It'll be transferred probably in the summer for that fund.
Second.
Thank you.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Sir, I don't have any discussion under item B or C unless you have any questions.
All right, thank you, sir.
Have a good day. Thank you.
Okay, let's move back to our consent agenda, item 4.
Judge, I would like to ask that consent agenda item 3A and 3E be pulled for discussion.
Move for approval of consent agenda excluding 3A and 3E.
Second.
Those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Consent agenda item 3A needs a correction, Judge. The caption should read approval of 2014 interdepartmental transfer instead of 201. So just a correction. So recommend approval with a correction.
Move for approval with a correction.
Those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
On consent agenda item 3E, I just want to bring up a point there that we transferring $200,000 from the Public Defense Legal Services expenditure account. What that does, it limits the funds available for attorney vouchers. So the amount available in that particular fund is only going to last until August. So if we don't transfer any funds into that account in August, we won't be able to pay any attorney vouchers.
How
Just
much have we spent on indigent defense to date?
I believe with this transfer, we're going to have a little bit over $1 million left over.
But
We-
what have we spent? How much did we budget?
I believe about $5 million was budgeted, but what is happening, Judge, is we transferring monies out of that account. So at the rate we're going, we're not going to have sufficient funds. And we transferred monies out so we can fund other things. for example, that one is going to fund, I believe, sanitation for the precincts. And the point that I'm bringing up is that if we continue taking money out of that account, we won't be able to pay bills for the attorneys.
Judge, Commissioners, and Mr. Frasco, that's a good point. Mr. Frasco is correct, but I am going to assure the court that that department, the funding for that department is going to be addressed, and we will satisfy all attorney vouchers that come before this court under that department.
All right.
So I recommend approval, Judge.
Move for approval.
Those in favor, say aye. Aye. Aye, motion carries.
Thank you.
Okay, under open forum, first presenter is Fern McClarity.
Good morning. I had a contact, I can't remember if they called me or emailed me, but told me to go look on eBay. And they said that they have the ES&S touchscreen election voting machines, just like the ones that we have. And if you go there, it's got the complete picture, everything of the machine with the little box that they have there. They had 11, they've sold one. They're going for $499.99. I thought that these were not supposed to go out to the public. This gives a person that knows what they're doing something to practice with and to play with. So I'm hoping that the counties and things around will stop selling these to the public, because like I say, I know what state I live in and I know what county I live in, and this is unbelievable. And I read up on ES&S, the voting machines in Tennessee. It says Decatur County. They flipped the votes. Votes were flipped in Ohio. ES&S to be rebuked, fined, and possibly banned in California. And then another article, 18,000 votes just vanished in Florida in 2006. eBay sales of ES&S touchscreens, this is not the first time. This is happening out there in the public. I know that they're checking and seeing if anything was done here, but the more they have that they can get their hands on, the easier it will be to cheat. And there are people that like to cheat and don't understand. And in this one article, it says, the election officers and voting machine companies, how's that security by obscurity thing going? Might be suggest security by transparency and full citizen oversight instead. We need to do something. We need to find out what's going on and get this stopped.
Our next presenter is Josefa Gonzalez.
Buenos días.
Buenos días.
Vengo de la colonia Lópezville, que es el nombre verdadero González Zamora, que estaban equivocados en ese nombre. Quizá por eso tardaban para poner las luces. Ahí tengo 54 años viviendo. Gracias a Dios me da una noticia ahorita al señor, parte del señor Palacio, le doy las gracias, de que ya está listo para que pongan las luces. Ahí en Lópezville, según, que es el Raúl González y Zamora. Por eso estoy aquí, para darles las gracias. Tanto tiempo esperar, ¿verdad?, de que da miedo entrar a esa colonia. La oscuridad y el peligro que ha habido y lo que ha pasado. Por eso estoy aquí, también para darle al señor Palacio muchas gracias por lo que ha trabajado con nosotros. Muchísimas gracias, tengan buen día. Con su permiso.
Gracias. All right. Next presenter is Eric.
This is translation.
Yes. Hi, good morning.
Go ahead.
Okay. Good morning.
Morning.
I came here with Ms. Josefa Palacios. She's from Lopezville, González, Zamora, and she's lived there for 54 years. And she's one of the main concerns there is lighting, and they struggle with lighting at night, insecurity, and also in the mornings when the kids are trying to get to the buses. It's usually late, and I mean it's usually dark, so there's danger there when buses are picking up the kids. So now, after a long time and wait, she got the good news today, and she wanted to thank Commissioner Palacios for giving her the good news that the lighting will begin soon, the lighting project, hopefully by next week. So that was her main concern, that she wanted to thank you guys for the work and that the wait was worth it.
Thank you. Next presenter is Eric Aguilar. All right. Next presenter is Opal Billman.
Good morning. My name is Opal Billman. I've never heard of anybody else's divorce case taking 18 years. Also, I've never heard of a divorce case in which one of the spouses spends 18 years in police-enforced false imprisonment. And I've never heard of a divorce case in which the court gets the community property. Do you suppose the fact that Joe and I dredged a lake had anything to do with it? By law, the divorce case was supposed to be dismissed when Joe died. Police-enforced false imprisonment is a crime. I would like the county not to pay any more of the 275th District Court's expenses until the court complies with the law and frees me, makes all court actions and documents concerning our community property and a corporation, beneficiary, trustee, or manager null and void, and dismisses this case. Our community property has had real owners for over 70 years. Thank you very much.
All right, and then moving on to item number 6A, recognition of South Texas ISD interns.
Good morning.
Good morning, ma'am.
At this time, I'd like to ask Ms. Nashla Shari Stowe and Samantha Mendoza and Valeria Sanchez Marentes to please join me up here. We're pleased to be able to recognize the Business Education Technology Academy today. It's a magnet school campus of South Texas Independent School District and its internship training program headed by Ms. Nashla Showery Stone. I'm right here, Stowe. For 2 years now, Ms. Showery Stowe has placed student interns in our county departments. This year we worked with 2 fine students, Samantha and Valeria. Samantha interned in our Public Affairs Division, and Valeria interned with Judge Jaime Tijarina in the 92nd District Court. These are unpaid internships that provide on-site, real-world experience in the students' fields of interest. By the way, Ms. Showery Stowe brought her whole class today to see how county government works. So, class, could you stand?
Good morning.
In addition to the county interns, Beta students, some of them who are here today, have interned at UT Pan American, Doctors Hospital, the City of Edinburgh, and other offices and businesses in the county. For now, let me tell you a little about our 2 interns as we present them with certificates of completion. Valeria lives in McAllen. She's her senior class treasurer. She won first place for Business and Professionals of America in Parliamentary Procedures for Region 4 and placed 8th in the state. And she plans to attend UT San Antonio to study international business and law. Here you go. Samantha lives in Progreso. She's in the top 25th percentile of her class and is chapter president of the Business Professionals of America. Samantha placed first in prepared speech for Region 4 and went on to also place first in the state competition. She plans to attend UTPA in the fall, studying communications and political science. Here's your certificate. Congratulations are in order for these 2 outstanding young women. And if we could have a photo with the Commissioners Court.
Congratulations.
Okay.
Ms. Sullivan asked me to make some statements on behalf of our program. I would like to say how proud I am of this internship, and thank you, Hidalgo County. I wish they were all 18 years old, because we would have a place for them in the county with their skills. There was a little very important statement. I'd also say that Samantha placed 4th in the nation, beating over thousands of students in prepared speech. I'd like to thank my students especially for their patience and for their training and for their love of their career, technology, and in business. Thank you so much, and we appreciate all of you. Thank you so much.
Thank you for what you do, Ms. Shower.
Thank you.
All right, item 6B.
Morning, Judge, Commissioners. Bobby Villarreal with the County Judge's Office. Today we have a proclamation in support of the establishment of Texas State Technical College in the Delta area. We have Michelle Villarreal from State Representative Oscar Longoria's office here, as well as Cindy Garza from Congressman Hinojosa's office. TSTC has shown some interest in the Delta area in establishing an office there. A facility there. But Michelle from the State Representative's office is here to elaborate.
Good morning, Judge and Commissioners. Again, my name is Michelle Villarreal. I'm with Representative Oscar Longoria's office. As you are aware, we had come before Commissioners Court a few months ago asking for a proclamation in support of an STC in the Delta. Unfortunately, after extensive discussions, they were not able to partner with us. And so in looking back at our possible partners, we have partnered we're in preliminary talks right now with TSTC. We feel they would be a good fit because of their technical programs that they do have in certificates. And so we are asking again for your support in this. Again, we are in preliminary discussions with TSTC. And if you have any questions, please do not hesitate to ask.
So move.
Second.
All right, those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Wasn't there some company that wanted to locate there as a result of this possibility of this school being open?
There's some interest from the Gates Foundation and Toyota as well.
Yes, right now we're looking at foundation partnerships if the deal were to go through, and some of those partnerships are already in works with TSTC or partners with them.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Item 6C.
Yes, Judge. Authorization for Judge Ramon Garcia to sign the certificate by the state or local official of the PHA plans consistency with the consolidation form, which needs to be resubmitted to HUD by the Hidalgo Housing Authority. Move for approval.
Second.
Those in favor, say aye. Aye. Aye, motion carries.
Thank you.
Item number 7, Mr. Guerra.
Thank you, Judge. Commissioners, there's no action under item 7A, 1 and 2 unless there's action to be taken further down the agenda. We do have a presentation. I'm going to ask Mr. Palacios to come to the podium with respect to our first and second floor administration, building renovation. And so that would be item 7B1.
Thank you.
Good morning, Judge, County Commissioners.
Morning, sir.
I know you have a long agenda.
How long is the presentation?
Very short, sir. Very short and brief. Okay, the Hidalgo County Court Administration first and second floor renovations, June the 3rd. Sorry. On the first floor, gentlemen, as presented before, we had, this is the area where we had the concrete slab that was very uneven. As you can see, the concrete slab has been completely resurfaced and finished. That was done previously about 2 weeks ago. The first floor, this is the lobby area, the entryway, and the progress work of all the concrete being completed before and after. This is a picture of the first floor. The picture on the before side, on the right-hand side, left-hand side, is where the dais or where you would be seating. The picture on the after is exactly somewhat of what you would be looking out towards the front entrance of the atrium. That is the view of the commissioner. That would be the view of the Commissioners Court. The staircase is ongoing. The concrete is filled to the second floor. And as you can see, the project within itself it's complete, it's very clean and being kept up. As you can see right here on the before, the concrete leveling has been completed. Pay close attention to the windows in the background. And on the after, on the picture to your right, if you pay attention to the windows to the far beyond, it'll give you an idea of how much work on the metal studs has been completed by the contractor, inclusive as the mechanical and the electrical systems of the project. The mechanical systems, the HVAC systems, continue to be ongoing. They're very extensive in nature, first and second floor, and that gives us an idea of how much work of magnitude mechanical system plays a part in this particular project. The leveling that we discussed again last month, you'll see that the workers are leveling the concrete forts, so forthcoming would be the finished floor. Areas of the second floor, the leveling of the floor again, which is very critical and very important, because when we put the new product, we want to make sure that it doesn't come back and it doesn't break or crack. Different areas of the building, as you can see, the job site is kept very clean. The electrical is ongoing as well as the mechanical. The plumbing is still intact. We are servicing the upper level floors without skipping a beat. Change orders and RFIs are kept to a minimum. They're ongoing at every progress meeting on a Monday morning. And this particular item, we are entertaining the district attorney's third floor. What you see before you is an area where structural columns, we are proposing to structurally sound these areas to accommodate and possibly correcting the current filing system. They're looking at some accordion type structure that can possibly provide the district attorney's office 3 times, even 4 times as more capacity for filing. This is a structural steel that is below on the second floor that we are considering of strengthening its structural steel to accommodate that filing area as proposed in that slide. The area in yellow is where the accordion may take place, right there on the district attorney's third floor. The snapshot of the project is ongoing. The contingency, I will like to say that on this particular slide, there is a correction I'd like to make. As of this morning at 9 a.m., the general contractor has submitted the contractor's timeline. With a pending revision, Charlie 5, that we classify, we are looking January 12th through the 15th of substantial completion. Can we make up some time over the summertime? It is possible. I've had that conversation with Mr. Wilson this morning and late yesterday evening, and he has forwarded, so I will be sending you, Stan and Mr. Guerra, an updated timeline, which I received this morning. So for a timeline of January and the ongoing upgrades and things that we're finding, we're not too bad. We're just keeping a tight leash on this horse to see if it doesn't run away from us. But so far, are there any questions on this?
Money-wise, we're in line with everything?
So far, Commissioner, we're in concert with that money as far as the budget, with the exception that Mr. Wilson does continue to provide us pricing, for example, on the upgrades that we may consider. These are just items on the table, Commissioners. At the end of the day, Mr. Guerra is very involved in making that final determination whether we move forward with them or not.
Thank you.
Mr. Palacios, do you approve the application for payment from the construction company?
We review them and we look at them, Mr. Eufrasio, but the official party would be the architect of record.
So the architect is the one that approves them?
His official signature is the final signature.
Okay, thank you.
You better push. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. There's
All
no
right,
action.
next item is item 7C.
Item 7C, yes, Judge Commissioners, I'm sure that the court is well aware, as there was a letter, memo that circulated to the commissioners and the judge. Mr. Agavito Vargas has retired. His last day of employment with the county was the 31st of May. And so, Judge Commissioners, I'm asking the court to consider and take action to appoint Mr. John Paul Lugo as the new program coordinator, Border Colonia Access Program Coordinator Director of that department.
Move for approval.
Yes, sir.
Question. How long is this project going to last?
We, Commissioner, The Border Colonial Access Program was set to expire this year, but there was some additional funding and additional projects that were authorized, and so we're probably looking at some point next year.
Is he aware that?
Yes. Yes, we've had extensive discussions with John Paul with respect to
Once
this
the
program.
program's over, then the job ends?
Right. No,
We have a
yes.
motion and a second. Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Judge, Commissioners, with that being said, I will submit all the proper paperwork, change of statuses, processed today through HR, DBM, and sent over to the Auditor's Office and Treasurer's Office. John Paul's in the audience. John, do you want to just real quickly give the court with respect to your tenure under the program? I think you've been there from day one.
Yes, sir. Judge, Commissioners, I'm John Paul Lugo. Been with the Colonial Access Program since 2003 as a coordinator. First with Jaime Ortiz as the director, and then with Agapito Vargas. But I've been coordinator since, for 11 years now.
Judge, if I may, I worked alongside with John Paul several years when I was at the Precinct 1 area. He's a very competent individual. He worked well with Agapito, knows his stuff, and it's a pleasure to see you taking this responsibility and finish off strong.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lugo.
Congratulations.
Go to work.
Go to work.
All right, item D.
Item D, Judge, Commissioners, is under Countywide Insurance. This is our annual insurance renewal quote that we get for our volunteer coverage. So I'm asking approval to accept the quote for the renewal of the accident insurance coverage for volunteers from Montalvo Insurance Agency. Our coverage period is from June 5th of 2014 to June 5th of 2015. I'm also asking authorization to sign all the appropriate documents as needed. And if the court takes action, we will process the invoice at a later date from the amount that is quoted.
How much coverage are we buying, brother?
Judge, the coverage limits should be attached. Second, it's coming up. Insurance quote is 500, and the attachment.
70.
Is 1 and 2 related?
Just call it into my office. They, well,
Move
you
for
don't have to
approval.
find
Yes.
it now.
Mr. Guerra, so the quote is $500?
I'm sorry?
The quote is $500?
Yes.
So number 2 is related to number 1?
Yes, number 2 is related to number 1. I just need action for us to continue with this insurance.
Move for approval.
Second.
Those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
So with that being said, the second part of this action item would be to pay the invoice from Montalvo Insurance Agency, the amount of $500 for accident insurance coverage for volunteers with authority of the county treasurer to issue check after the review process and procedures are completed by our county auditor.
Move for approval.
Those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Thank you, Judge, Commissioners.
Item 8.
On item 8, Judge, I had a discussions yesterday. This is for Constable Precinct 1. This is on a landline, 2 landline with Verizon, of which we have declared a sole source. After discussions with Ms. Arce Duran yesterday, I have authorized that the PO is sufficient so that this is not a claim. The original submission of the requisition was done in accordance with the date that the lines were ordered. However, because there was a mix-up on the sole source declaration, and it was written as year 14 instead of 13, it wasn't completed till later. But it is honored by a PO. There is no action necessary.
So no action needed? You're gonna
No, sir. It is not a claim.
Move for approval.
No, it's no action
no,
is necessary. Just wanted to announce that. Thank you.
Next item,
Constable Precinct 4.
Constable Precinct 4.
Good morning, Judge, Commissioners. Judge, Commissioners, we're just here for you all to consider and approve of appointment of a Mark Aaron Espinosa as a Deputy Constable by Constable Gaitan, Constable Precinct 4, in accordance with Texas Local Government Code Section 86.011.
Move for approval.
Second.
It's a motion second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Esther,
Yes, sir.
Morning, Commissioners. I'm here on item 9A for Precinct 1 under Road and Maintenance. Approval of the following personnel actions to delete a vacant System Support Analyst, slot 141, under Department Code 121005 at $33,013, and to create a Supervisor, slot 146, Department Code 121005 at $33,013, and the approval of the
9A,
revised
1 and
salary
2.
schedule.
Second.
1 and 2.
Yes, sir.
There's a motion.
Those two items were vacant.
I beg your pardon?
They were both vacant, right?
Yeah, no, just one's vacant. You're deleting the vacant and creating a
Oh,
new
okay.
position.
All right.
There's a motion, a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
Right?
Thank you.
Thank you.
11, no?
Is Diana?
Is that not? Item 11, Urban Count.
I forgot Eddie had already made his presentation. Good morning. Our first item on the agenda is requesting exemption from competitive bidding requirements under Texas Local Government Code 262.024, A4 for professional engineering services.
Approval.
Second.
Motion, second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
Thank you. Item 2 is a presentation of a scoring grid for the purposes of ranking by Commissioners Court of at least 3 engineering firms. The 3 firms were graded and evaluated by the City of Sullivan City, the Urban County Program, and the Purchasing Department. This project is for a street improvement project in Sullivan City. The 3 firms that were evaluated were S&B Infrastructure with a grade of 97.67, SDI Engineering with a grade of 85.67, and Innovative Civil Engineering with a grade of 76.34. Would you like to rank them in that order?
Move for approval.
Second.
There's a motion, second. Diana,
Sir.
who did the scoring?
The City of Sullivan City City Manager. In my office, it was Tony Barco, and in the Purchasing Department, I would say that it was probably Mr. Oscar Garza. Yes, it was Mr. Garza.
Thank you. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, motion carries.
Item 3 is the authority to negotiate a professional engineering service contract with the #1 ranked firm of S&B Infrastructure.
Move for approval.
Motion, second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
11B is a request on behalf of the City of Mercedes, requesting the authority to purchase fire station equipment, which will be the spreader, quick kick ram support, and twin line hose for the Mercedes Fire Department. The purchase will be made from Hearst Jaws of Life.
Move for approval.
Second.
Motion, second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
Item C is a request on behalf of my office requesting the authorization to advertise for construction and related activities for all projects identified in our 2013-2014 work plans, as well as the 2014-2015 one-year action plan, including the subsequent amendments and the Colonia-funded activities.
Approval.
Second.
There's a motion, second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
Item D is requesting exemption from competitive bidding requirements under Texas Local Government Code 262.02484 for professional engineering services.
Move for approval.
Second.
Motion, second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
Item D2 is a presentation of the scoring grid for the purposes of ranking by Commissioners Court of the 3 firms evaluated for the City of Benita Street Improvement Project. These firms were South Texas Infrastructure LLC with a grade of 92.67, L&G Engineering Transportation Consultants with a grade of 92.67, and Sames Incorporated with a grade of 90.67. There was a tie here, so I'm going to request that the court draw from the lot as to who would come and be #1.
Ernie,
Yes, Palacios.
I'll go ahead and delegate it to you.
That big shadow ahorita.
There's only one? LNG.
To South Texas?
Excuse me?
To South Texas?
Well, look at the other.
I'm sorry, I
in
can't
there.
hear you, Mr. Fracio. I cannot hear what you said.
Well, you're saying number one is LNG. so I
LNG
was
transportation
wondering
is
who's
my
number
first.
two?
I'm about to pull that out right now.
All right.
Thank you. Number 2 would be South Texas Infrastructure LLC. Then you'd like to rank them in that order?
Move
Yes,
for
move
Move for
approval.
approval.
Motion second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. The final item is authority to negotiate a professional engineering service contract with the number 1 ranked firm of LNG Engineering.
Move for approval.
Motion second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, then. My next item is on behalf of the City of Edcouch requesting consideration and action to award and enter into a construction contract with Science Brothers Construction LLC for a water treatment plant, SCADA system in the amount of $525,425, using their funding from year 24 and 25.
Move for approval.
Second?
Motion second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Diana,
Monday.
on the item number 2, the name of the vendor is LNG Engineering Transportation Consultants. Is that just LNG Engineering, or is the entire name like that?
Is it LNG Engineering and what?
According to this here, it says LNG Engineering Transportation Consultants.
That is what they submitted as part of their packet.
So that is the name of the vendor?
The name, the packet we evaluated, that is the name that was listed under. But it's LNG Engineering, it's LNG Engineering.
And that's what I was wondering, so it's just LNG Engineering, period,
still-
right?
It's the
Okay.
same LNG
Yeah,
Engineering.
'cause I believe LNG, the other LNG did some construction there. It was a different LNG.
Well, there's the testing service, they have a testing services company, and then they have their engineering company. Thank you.
Thank you. Ivan?
Good morning, Commissioners. Yvonne Ramon with the Elections Office. We're passing out 12A, which discussion, consideration, and approval of the July 1st, 2014 court-ordered Democratic primary runoff election early voting poll locations. That's a mouthful. You can see that there are 7 locations. These were looked over by the Democratic Party and the candidates. And since it is only the precinct 2, place 2, the locations are situated in that area.
Are you good with those? Are we all right with it?
Yes, sir.
Move for
They were.
approval.
Second.
That's a motion second. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
The second item is discussion, consideration, and approval of the July 1st, 2014 court-ordered Democratic primary runoff election voting, but these are for the mobile locations as requested by the Democratic Party. So you will see that the second handout has 5 sites for early voting, and it's for the mobile unit to go to these locations during that special runoff.
Move for approval.
Second.
Motion second. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, thank you very much. Keeping in mind that we've got the City of Mercedes and the City of Mission starting their early voting this coming Monday. So let's make sure that everyone gets out there to vote. Thank you.
Raul?
Morning, Commissioners. Raul Salguero from Precinct 2. Item 13A, Commissioners, this is requesting approval of a second amendment to an interlocal agreement between the City of Alamo, City of San Juan, and Hidalgo County, Precincts 1 and 2, regarding improvements to Ridge Road from Cesar Chavez to South Alamo Road.
Move for approval.
Second.
Motion second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Item 13B, for Precinct 2 various projects, we're requesting approval of appropriation of funds into Precinct 2 various projects in the amount of $345,580.23 from the Road and Bridge Fund balance.
For approval.
Second?
Motion second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Item 13C, this is approval of the following expenditures in accordance with the exit and official expenditure policy, and this is in regards to a training session for Commissioner Palacios, a meeting of the South Texas County Judges and Commissioner Association, and the total amount of that expenditure will be $939.28.
Mr. Saldero, is this required? Because I thought the amount was increased to a larger amount, no?
No, sir, that was for operating expenditures. The operating expenditures were increased, but not, everything else stayed the same.
There's a motion on the floor
And a second.
and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you. Precinct 4.
Good morning, Commissioners. Marcos Lopez, Precinct 4. Item 14A is the approval of the interlocal cooperation agreement between Hidalgo County and the Emergency Service District Number 3.
Move for approval.
Second.
We have a couple of comments to make on this particular item. One was the statute requires to have a two-step process for interlocal agreements, and also the other comment is legal counsel formal review and approval of the interlocal agreement. We didn't see any documentation where that was specifically stated.
First of all, I prepared the documents, so it does have my approval.
Okay.
That's on the record. Second, I believe this agenda item is inclusive of the attached page on the interlocal.
The second, it's all inclusive. The second attachment, as per 791.014, is clearly stated in the documentation.
There are two documents?
They're both
There's
there.
two documents.
They're attached.
Both there.
Yeah.
You have a motion and a second?
There's a
There's a
motion and a
motion and a
second.
second,
Those
Judge.
in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
As to item B, we did some research yesterday on Rio Grande Valley Steel. We have determined that that is not a claim. The PO is issued on the date of receipt of the merchandise. We did review that yesterday. And on the second one, that's going to require an email or a memo from the precinct. This was a dump truck that every time any load was put on it, it would not start. It would die. It needed emergency work so that it wouldn't interrupt their trash collection services and oil, especially illegal dumping. So I'm going to ask them to send that in. I will honor it, so neither one will be a claim.
So there's no action?
No action.
Okay.
Now, on the next one for Haida, I don't know if anybody's here. Those we did not get an opportunity to review. I would ask that just in the overabundance of caution, they be submitted and approved. But if for some reason, after my review, they aren't claims, well, we could go the regular route. But I think that because I didn't get an opportunity to speak to the department or review these, I would ask action to be taken.
Move for approval?
Second.
Those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries.
Okay, that comes to purchasing, and Martha Salazar for Purchasing Department. We're going to start off with recommending award of contracts on an as-needed basis from responsible vendors submitting the lowest and best bids as detailed in the tabulation sheet contained herein and meeting all specifications and requirements. This is for hot mix Kool-Aid. We had 7 packets requested, 2 bidders submit. We have the recommended awardee is Frontera at $80.50 per ton, and this is an additional reduction of $3 per ton from the last bid we had. I recommend action.
Move for approval.
Second.
How quick can we get a PO on that?
How fast?
We've been hurting for that.
As soon as we get it executed, but you can submit your requisition.
You don't have any POs available?
I don't have any right now.
You don't have
None
one?
on me, no.
Those in favor of the motion and second indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Item 2 is a discussion for Hidalgo County Commissioners Court to accept and approve with authority of the county judge to execute a memorandum of understanding regarding the adoption of the Texas Department of Transportation's federally approved Disadvantaged Business Enterprise program in connection with Hidalgo County highway, road construction, and design projects partially or wholly funded through Federal Highway Administration funds.
Move for approval?
Second.
Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Okay, on this next one, this is for facilities management. Let me just give you some prefacing remarks. We have a chiller that is on, has the danger of breaking down. Therefore, we're asking to accept and approve a turnkey proposal and service contract submitted by Protec Mechanical Incorporated in the amount of, and there is a corrected amount of $113,000. I believe it's $113,573.83, as we just received the latest figures through the county's participation with the TIPS TAPS contract for the replacement of a 160-ton chiller for the old admin building, with authority for the county judge to execute the service contract. I am going to request that the court approve this subject to the verification of those items that are listed as concerns by the auditor's office. I just want to have the authority to move on it if indeed it does break down. We have already received at least 2 of the responses that were noted by the auditor, and we're working on all the others. So I would like the court to approve this purchase of $113,573.83.
So the new number, Marty, 113,573?
$113,573.83. There is a $1,923.83 increase from the last figures that were given.
For approval.
Second.
Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Item 4, we're requesting authority for the following prepaid post-tax voluntary legal services. Packet 1, to advertise and approval of the procurement packet with the draft specifications and legal notices. And this is with the following conditions. A, employees that would have opportunity to keep current awarded vendor, but through a personal payroll, but not through a payroll deduction plan.
Marty,
And if we do have a new one,
before we move into this one, I remember several years ago, we bought a...
we don't have any more extensions on this, Commissioner.
No, but on number 3, we went ahead and bought a chiller years ago, not when I was already in office.
Oh, yes, but there was more than one. We just, this is the last one of the original.
Okay, because it was about 6-7 years ago, I believe, no?
I don't know if Daniel is still here. He was here earlier.
Yeah,
I believe it was a slow attrition of the ones that were there.
That one.
So this should be the last one. But we did keep the ones that were still functioning.
Daniel is there, Marty?
Daniel, is this one of the original chillers? Yes, it is. Yeah, that's what I thought. Yes. We have by attrition replaced the others.
Yeah,
This is
slowly but surely, sir.
this is the last one.
We have a circuit board that went bad on it, and then also a compressor on it.
But we did replace one several
Yes, sir.
years ago.
Yes, sir. We have a brand new one.
Right. Okay. Going on this one, if we do have a new vendor successfully awarded, then the employees that currently have this vendor would keep it, but on their own personal payment plan. B, the new vendor, if awarded, would offer the product on a post-tax payroll deduction option. I just want the vendors out there that are going to participate to know that.
What is your recommendation?
Prepaid or
To
postpaid?
advertise as I'm proposing.
It can either be a prepaid or
It's
postpaid?
post-tax. It's
Post-tax?
It's payroll deduction, but post-tax. Does not qualify under our cafeteria.
And
So
your
I ask
recommendation
for
is?
action on 1, as stated.
Which one's your recommendation?
One?
To approve as I'm requesting.
That's my motion.
And 1A, Marty, or which one?
Those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Aye, motion carries.
And on 2, this is to exercise the option on the 60-day grace period extension while we do the procurement process with the
approval.
current vendor.
Second.
7.
Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
The next item is acceptance and approval of the amendment to contract, this is for Precinct 1, contract number 056 with Chanin Engineering Services for professional services for Project Delta Lake Pavilion, with the revision of 5.1 of Article 5, compensation and fees, and 6.1 of Article 6, method of payment, pursuant to the Exhibit C fee breakdown of the contract.
Move for approval.
Second.
Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
And item C is for Precinct 2, approval of the following requisitions listed for operating expenditures exceeding the $7,500 as the exiting officials policy requires, and as noted on the agenda, Holt Truck and Frontera Materials.
Move for approval.
Second.
Those in favor, say aye. Aye. Aye, motion carries.
Requesting on item 2, clarification and correction to the estimated amount of work authorization 4 with R. Gutierrez Engineering for Owasso Road project previously approved on 5/27 to reflect from $18,573 to $24,938.
Move for approval.
Second.
Those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Item D1, Precinct 3, requesting authority to advertise and approval of procurement packet as attached here for Model 2 North Roadway Reconstruction Project, subject to the receipt of TxDOT's approved packet, receiving TxDOT's letter of authority, and Hidalgo County's Commissioners Court adoption of TxDOT's DBE program, which you've already done. I know that Norma told us we should be getting the letter from TxDOT on the other 2 requirements. It's still subject to that
But
sometime this week.
You took care, right?
Yes, sir.
Move for approval.
Second.
Those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
And item 2 is requesting exemption from competitive bidding requirements under Texas Local Government Code 262-024A4, a professional service.
Approval.
Second.
Those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
This is a presentation of scoring grid for the purposes of ranking by Commissioners Court of the firms graded and evaluated through the county's approved pool of professional surveyors for an on-call and as-needed basis contract. They were Quintanilla Headley and Associates with an average of 98, Those Land Surveying with an average of 92, and Seek VQ, I almost said QVC, Land Surveyors at 91. Does the court wish to rank them in the order of their scores?
Approval.
Second.
Those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Authority for the purchasing department to negotiate a professional services contract with the number 1 ranked firm of Quintanilla Headley and Associates.
Move for approval. Second.
Those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
This is requesting approval of professional appraisal services agreement with Leonel Garza Jr. and Associates for the purpose of appraisal services for the fair market value appraisals in connection with acquisition of land, sale or exchange, rights-of-way easements, condemnations, and disposition of county-owned property located within Precinct 3.
Move for approval.
Second.
Those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Item E is for Precinct 4, recommendation by project architect Mata Garcia and Architects, LLP, for Commissioners Court to award the base bid to responsible vendor submitting the lowest and best bid, J-Con Construction, in the amount of $1,350,000 for the project titled Hidalgo County Precinct 4 Construction of the Lynn San Manuel Emergency Services Facility. This is in connection with the interlocal MOU that we just approved earlier in this agenda.
Second.
Second.
Those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
F, 1 is for HIDA requesting from Hidalgo County request from Hidalgo County's HIDA Task Force recommending that Commissioners Court consider and take action to exercise the county's option to terminate as stated in the current agreement under Article 2, voluntary termination with RGV Towers for lease of tower space for HIDA Task Force project by providing and forwarding the 30-day written notice inasmuch as equipment is transferred to Starr County.
Move for approval.
Second.
Those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Item G1, presentation of acceptance and approval of the second amendment to the current lease agreement with Jose I. Ramirez for the lease of office space in Roma, Texas, to reflect the modification to the renovated floor plan, which increases the square footage to a final total of 3,302. I know there were discussions about the shortfall on the funding. That will be subject to that. We were talking to WIC late yesterday afternoon, and they were in the process of getting that addressed.
That's a comment that I was going to make, Judge. Right now, there's not sufficient funding for this particular item. Recommend.
It would be subject to that funding being in place. I don't know if they did get it done.
No, we recommend approval, subject to funding.
Move for approval.
Yes, I know that,
Subject to funding?
subject to the funding
Subject to funding.
being completed by the department with DBM.
Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
That is all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. This time pursuant to 551, 071, and 072, need a motion to proceed to executive session.
Move for approval.
Second.
Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. We'll be in executive session. It's 10:44. we're back in open session.
Judge,
Yes, sir.
on one of those agenda items, I failed to bring up the issue that there's not sufficient funding for has to do with the Precinct 4 project. There's no sufficient funding in place.
Commissioner Palacios already left.
Yeah.
Didn't we approve that subject to funding?
Yes, it's approval subject to funding.
Yeah, but.
We had some PO transfers pending and some PO liquidations, and that would take care of the funding. So we do recommend approval, subject to funding.
Okay, well, we've already done it.
Subject funded.
Yeah, at this point, the only issue that we had was the fact that the interlocals that Steve said that they were all reviewed and approved. But on top of that, the funding was not sufficient, so I think the item was already approved. I just wanted to make sure that you understand that there's not sufficient funding right now, but they're in the process of moving some monies around.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Guerra?
Thank you, Judge, Commissioners. Under open session, item A, real estate acquisition appropriation for same, there is no action to be taken. Item B, pending and or potential litigation, there is no action to be taken or nothing to report. Item C, which deals with economic development negotiations, there's no action, we'll just proceed as directed. And for the record, Project Soft Touch and Project Alaska. Item D, cause number 5115-13B, Jose Ruben Bailly versus Hidalgo County Sheriff's Department. There's no action at this time. Item E, Judge, Commissioners, civil action number 13-261, Jose G. Perez and Maria Guadalupe Perez versus Guadalupe Lupe Trevino, Sheriff of Hidalgo County, Texas, et al. Judge, Commissioners, I want to refer back to item 7A1 and 2. Item 7A1, I'm requesting exemption from the competitive bidding requirements under Texas Local Government Code, Section 2620248-4, a professional service for the provision of legal services representation in connection with the aforementioned litigation. If we could have a motion to that effect.
Move to approve.
Those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
In 7A2, I'm requesting the engagement with the firm of Michael Lee for the provision of legal services representation in connection with the litigation, with the aforementioned litigation, and authority to submit a letter of engagement specifically to former Hidalgo County Sheriff employees that have been sued or may be sued in the subject case that I just mentioned.
Action?
Yes, sir.
Just the employees or the sheriff, because the item is on the.
Yes, sir.
The sheriff, right?
And for clarification, we are currently being represented by the law firm of Preston Henriksen as it pertains to the suit against the sheriff.
Okay. The
Okay?
E. Okay.
I'm sorry?
The E item, you said,
Yes.
the item is the
Yes.
civil action number
Yes.
versus.
Item E, yes, correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Right,
But there's-
13-261.
Right. But there's been a new development.
Okay.
And so with respect to former county sheriff employees that have been or may be sued with respect to the subject case, we are hiring Michael, or I'm asking the court to entertain the motion to hire Michael Lee to represent.
Lee?
Yes, to represent us.
We have a motion and a second. In that regard, those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Item F, claim of Yvonne Castellan. Judge, Commissioners, I'd like settlement authority to make an offer in the amount of $2,055.37.
To approve.
Second.
Those in favor, say aye. Aye. Aye, motion carries.
Item G, claim of Hidalgo County versus Aurelio Baca and Guadalupe Baca. Judge, Commissioners, I'd like to put on the record that we're going to assign this to our District Attorney's Office, specifically Josephine Ramirez, to subrogate on behalf of Hidalgo County.
Move for approval.
Second.
Those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Item H, CL 13-2016-D, Mario Herrera and Roxanne Gonzalez versus Hidalgo County. Judge, Commissioners, I'd like for the court to entertain a motion to tender the balance of our SIR to our insurance carrier in the amount of $22,401.84 specifically to this claim against us.
What was the amount, 22,000?
$22,401.84.
Move for approval.
Second.
Those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Item I, Judge, Commissioners, claim of Renee Sanchez and Julian Bautista, parents of Julian Bautista Jr., a minor. Judge, Commissioners, I'd like for the settlement authority and for the court to entertain a motion for us to settle this claim on the minor in the amount of $300.
Move for approval.
Second.
That's a piece, right?
Yes, for the first one, yes. For Julian Bautista, $300.
All right, those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
And Judge Commissioners, for the record, we will let the auditor's office know that if accepted, the check would be made payable to Rene Sanchez and Julian Bautista as custodians of Julian Bautista Jr., a minor. And then item J, claim of Rene Sanchez and Julian Bautista, parents of Fernando Bautista, a minor. Judge Commissioners, I'd like some authority if the court will entertain a motion to make an offer in the amount of $300.
Move for approval.
Second.
Those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
And again, for the record, we'll let the auditor's office know that if accepted, the check would be payable to Rene Sanchez and Julian Bautista as custodians of Fernando Bautista, a minor.
So those two separate, one for
Yes.
Julian Bautista Jr., 300, and the other one Fernando Bautista, $300 also?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, going back to item E, Valde, it reads civil action number, Jose Perez and Maria versus Lupe Trevino. You're saying that there's already an attorney that is working
Yes.
on this particular case, or?
Yes,
there's
Preston
already-
Hendrickson is working.
Preston Hendrickson is representing the County of Hidalgo and the former sheriff.
So there's
Okay.
no need to hire anyone for this particular case, right?
I'm sorry?
There's no need to hire anyone for this particular case?
Yes, there has been a new development in this particular case, and so what I asked the court to do was entertain a motion to hire Michael Lee to represent the county as it pertains to former sheriff employees
Okay.
that have been or may be sued in this subject case.
No, got you. Thank you.
Thank you.
I need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Thank you, Jim.